is up, my people? Welcome back to the channel for another album review. I'm your boy Nassim the Dream. If you're new to the channel, just go right on ahead and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell as well to always keep notified on my newest content. Today is the day I will be finally reviewing the brand new Westside Gunn album, And Then You Pray For Me. Buffalo, New York's finest, 1/3 of the stunning, deadly New York rap group slash label GriZelda, Mr. Westside Gunn, has returned to expand his discography with this new album. The prolific rapper has been popping his name left and right in relevancy in these publications, making sure his name is always third in the pot, starting with these projects dropped in 2022, most notably his biggest recent feature on the new Travis Scott album Utopia, also noting the most impactful double album drop in 2021, Hitler Wears Hermes 8, notably got great kickback from most critics and fans. But what's most relevant to bring up is the 2020 album Pray for Paris, which is assumed to be the predecessor of this one to what seems to be the sequel record, which has some relevancy to each other but also not much cohesion, since these records don't follow a narrative and venture off slightly from each other in sound style. There is mostly a connection with these records due to the influence of Paris Fashion Week, which, just looking off the album, you kind of get this impression that you're gonna get a lot of classical old style sampling, which is still involved into this classic mythos, mostly into Pray for Paris. This didn't necessarily feel like a sequel record unless you did play them back to back, because at some point it does have an interesting progression to each other, since these influences in the first quarter of this new record does have a lot of similarities to Pray for Paris. If so, the creative choices on Westside's part are pretty interesting. Clearly has a more centered focus into the trap elements rather than the boom bap aesthetics, but you're still gonna get that on here. That's still somewhat included on here, but just not as much as Pray for Paris. There is the traditional feature from GriZelda's own Conway the Machine, whom effortlessly hit that verse, causing the whole floor to shake. There's also plenty of notable features on here that I felt like really did add a lot of depth to this record, like including Jid, Rick Ross, Denzel Curry. Each of these in his own example just bring in that villainy, that danger warning that is nearby. It just has this really good, sinister, epic energy to it. It's hard to explain. Mostly I can really give it to you in like the most comic-y way, like it's like Thanos approaching you, ready to obliterate the entire universe. With tracks like Disgusting, deliberately mimics this entire tone that I'm trying to get with you. It's just some like real Michael Myers type shit. Like, you can't help to feel like that something big is coming and it's really gonna dominate. With the most revisited feature goes to Steve God Cooks, whom has been consistently involved into many of the GriZelda associated projects. House of Glory has to be my top moment from him on the record, but he really did held his own on each of the songs that he was featured on. I mean, his features were not small either. He had big roles on them. I personally enjoyed him a lot on these songs. I know a lot of people can feel like it's a little bit daunting to constantly hear this feature more than others, but I thought it was still good. The biggest sleeper, in my opinion, hands down, goes to SG, because that man was just out on a mission. Getting into the dark hip-hop elements on here, they become really dominant past the first quarter. They really invoke a reaction of like some serious business type effort, like that boss mentality, I'm about to rip the concrete off of the floor type of hype. Cause yes, with the trap styles that are really modernized into this album, you do feel that hype energy into the record, but also can't help to feel like there is some missed opportunities here, which is mostly due to our short lack of features that I feel like could have really made the impact. And I know there's a lot on here per se, but I think a little bit more certain people, certain producers could have really made this a long shot further to the finish line. Like, my man's had a memo from Tyler the Creator mentioning how Westside Gunn is one of his favorite rappers. He's one of the reasons why he loves to rap so much, which is already pretty awesome to include. But you can't tell me that you wouldn't have loved to see him perform or produce a song on one of these. I really felt like that was such a big gap that was missed. Or even a couple mishaps with the sampling choices and drum styles that, in my opinion, just don't work at all. So make no mistake, I thought there was plenty on this album that I was overall enjoyed with, but it doesn't necessarily take itself completely serious, which kind of makes sense. For Westside, it's mostly about switching up the feels for this record, the transition to a different tone and style that was really intended from Westside. It's not going to be that classic hardcore abstract sound choice that we love to hear from GriZelda. He mostly just goes around with some modern trap hip hop type shit that he really likes to dig, likes to just play around with and listen to. So he just gave that a try like he did before, but he's kind of just doing that same thing again, showing how versatile he is, how much rich quality he can really include into these sample choices. But it's also because of that intention where I feel like there was a lot holding back for the record because of how twisted and far shifted the next 3 quarters of the album are, but that first quarter just becomes ominous, and since they're like mainly translucent and feel continuous like a flow for Pray for Paris, it doesn't really feel like it works on its own for the record. So when you get into the record and knowing what you're gonna get into, I feel like you're gonna be pretty satisfied, and I overall think this is a dope record. It's exactly what Westside intended, to have a fun and real hip-hop record of him just rapping some rap shit about the most recognizable yet familiar, entertaining way in hip-hop that we know. I can see the pattern continuing with Westside, with him coming out with the next project that could possibly most likely overshadow this one. I can't deny that I had a lot of fun on this record, and with that said, I'm gonna give Westside Gunn's And Then You Prayed For Me a 72%. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed, go to like, share, and comment down below of what you thought of this record. Do not forget to check out the description to see my separate tracklist ratings for the album, more videos, and also the links to my social media accounts so you can keep up with me on the daily. I'm gonna catch you in the next one. Deuces.